Welcome to video number 2 in our 6-part video series, Do You Belong in Echoes of Recovery? We have a lot of people who listen to our podcast. They watch these YouTube videos and they relate to what we've got going on, but they think, maybe I don't need a support group. I don't need to go any further. Or maybe I do, but how would I possibly know? So we decided to put together this video series to help people understand what is it that we actually do in our Echoes of Recovery group that those people may or may not want to be a part of. You like being a part of it, don't you, Sherry?
Yes, yes, I do. Well, I think when we kind of a very brief history, we started this after we realized there wasn't a lot of support for people on my side other than like Al Anon and some other 12-step programs. And I just remember feeling like I was really lucky because I had two people in my life at the time that were experiencing the situations that I had been in, and we were trying to find our way into recovery, sobriety, discovery. That I could really feel like I could share things with, and they could share with me. So I had this little built in community. And I thought, not everyone has that. And I just can't imagine that I had two people to do this with, to process this with, to go through some of those hard times when you were still drinking. One of them I was able to confide in a little bit, and the other one I didn't know until after your coming out letter.
Yeah.
And so I just felt really, really lucky to have those friends
to
travel with me.
And when it comes to peer support, individual recovery as the partner of someone who's experienced alcoholism, if 2 is good, dozens and dozens really is better. The first video in the series, we talked about nervous system repair, getting out of constantly being in fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. And in the next video, we're going to talk about resentment processing, dealing with that anger that you have and have no place to put it. But in this video, we're going to talk about writing, because writing is something we do a lot of in all of our groups, including the Echoes of Recovery group. Writing is all about vulnerability. When we write our stuff, we tend to go deeper. We're a little more expressive. We are authentic, and we tend to, reveal things that we wouldn't otherwise reveal if we were just in conversation. So a lot of people think, what does it matter if I write my stuff? I'll just talk about it. Well, writing really is different. You have the time to contemplate, how do I really feel about this particular piece of this puzzle? Or is there something behind it that I'm not seeing? Writing is an exploratory process, and it's huge. And the writing in and of itself is huge. In our Echoes of Recovery group, we do writing that we then share with each other through weekly video calls. But whether or not you do the sharing, you do the reading, you do the having another human being, letting them in on what you've written, the writing itself is huge. And this isn't just, I'm not just being superfluous. I'm not just throwing big words out there about how cool writing is. We have learned from lots of people that there is something that takes place in our brains when we write our stuff. You and I have had the blessing of meeting people who've been through some really, really severe trauma. And they have talked about how they don't even realize it's happening, but they have this subconscious responsibility to hold on to the memory of this traumatic thing that happened, this event that they witnessed. And when they write about it, when they write it down, it frees up that mind space. And what's happening subconsciously is your brain is saying, okay, I'm not responsible for holding this memory anymore. It exists somewhere else, so I can move on and let it go. And in some cases, having a record of it that the person can refer back to is helpful. In some cases, they might never open that notebook again or that digital file again where they've written it down. But just knowing that it exists somewhere outside of their brain is a huge part of the healing process, because they no longer have responsibility for holding on to it. But then further in the writing process that we explore in Echoes of Recovery, we do invite our participants. We don't make them, but we invite them to read what they've written. And there's something very cathartic about sharing in a group where there is ultimate safety. often, Sherry, you know this, when you would write, I know you're not a huge writer, but sometimes in our relationship, you would write how you were feeling about something that had happened between you and I, because it just was, you needed that quiet space to write it all down without me interrupting, without me interjecting, without me defending, without me deflecting in a conversation. And writing that down and having it, was a really cathartic process for you. And then you could share with me the written word. You could read the written word and feel like it was smoother, it was more connected, it wasn't being interrupted, you weren't being, I mean, you were still being judged, but so there was advantage to that. But then think about writing it and then presenting it in a safe place where there is no judgment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the real advantage, right? Writing and sharing with your partner who may or may not be defensive is one thing, but sharing with people who really get it, and the feedback you'll get will be positivity and the fact that they relate to it. That's a game changer, isn't it?
It is. It is.
When you contrast that with writing and sharing with me back when I was in active addiction, quite a bit better.
Yes, I would try to write to you about events that had happened or arguments or things that were really weighing on me. And I have a tendency to get really emotional. So when we would have conversations, verbal conversations about this, I felt like I was flustered. I felt like I could not convey the message that I was trying to bring to your attention. I was too emotional. I was interrupted and judged. So for me, writing hadn't been something that I had appreciated because of those negative events that had taken place during your drinking days. So when there was writing involved in therapy work and in the echoes, and we do other writing in our other groups, like I find that it is amazing how sometimes there might be a topic, but hidden within that topic is a piece that I'm still holding on to, or a piece that I didn't realize was a real bother. And sometimes, because we have been doing echoes for 6 years now, or doing the groups for 6 years in total, we have had similar prompts, or I can write on an event now that I wrote on 4 years ago, and I have different perspective because of just the healing process that I've gone through and learning about things that, like I said, that were kind of not so important at the time, that I felt like I needed to write about it or respond about it or even recognize and acknowledge it. But then I have written about it and I'm like, wow, I didn't even know that was still underlying in that, bigger traumatic event between maybe you and I.
It's like as one knot gets untied, there's more knots behind it. And so something you can write about now you couldn't access 4 years ago because you hadn't untied the knots in front of it.
The first bunch of the entanglement was there, and then I could go further and further, like the onion layers.
And in our writing prompts, in our group, we don't always just write about alcoholism or that alcoholic relationship. We often write about other relationships or other experiences that are also holding us back. Often childhood stuff, work-related relationships. But we call them prompts instead of assignments because we give people just an idea to spark something that they can write about, and then they're free to go wherever they would like with it. There's no grading, there's no assignment to it. It's just let's get the wheels turning. Some examples of some recent prompts. You're the one who changed. We know a lot of our people in Echoes have heard that before.
Oh, this is one of my favorites. I can't believe I said that.
Yeah, that's a great
prompt. That could go
prompt.
Anywhere, right? Like that could be anywhere, anybody, anytime, anything.
What are you holding on to? That part of you is dead.
Yeah.
Or, one thing that we do sometimes is we have people write the conversation from both perspectives. Mm-hmm. That's a really difficult task to do, to try to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. So writing is really what sets Echoes of Recovery apart from other things out there in the recovery area. When people say, are you doing the work of recovery? People are often like, what does that even mean? What is the work of recovery? This is the work of recovery. Writing about our experiences, untying those knots. So we encourage you, if writing is something that you either enjoy doing or you see as therapeutic, we invite you to check out more about Echoes of Recovery. If you'd like to hear more of our opinionated ramblings, please check out the Untoxicated podcast.
And if you're more of the reading type, please go to soberandunashamed.com.
If you're picking up what we're laying down, please check out shoutsobriety.org or echoesofrecovery.org. We get what you're going through. You've got this, and we've got you.